part of our series on Meet Your Councillor, it's my pleasure to introduce Wendy Stephen, who's Deputy Mayor for the next few weeks anyway. Good for you. I'm so glad you could come in today. So we all know what goes on in a council meeting. You can watch YourTV and find that out, but it's behind the scenes that interests me. So what are the different committees that you sit on?
Oh, wow, good question. A lot of different committees, actually. And as councillors, too, we sit on different boards, too. So I'm on, as far as city committees go, Environment, Infrastructure, Transportation Policies Committee, the Arts, Recreation and Community Policies Committee. We've got advisory committees. I'm on the EDI committee and the Heritage Programs one. And I sit on 3 boards: Sustainable Kingston, Kingston Frontenac Public Library Board, and the Cataraqui Region Conservation Authority Board.
That is a really
I am not bored.
You're not bored, and that is a very full plate that you've got there. But the one that really interests me is sustainability. Can you start by telling us what is sustainability?
Oh, great question. Well, sustainability, we're talking about that ability to sort of live within our means, both financially and environmentally, and we're trying to do it in a way that is respectful of the earth on which we live and all the other living relations that we have.
And I've heard that it means you're not handing a bunch of problems to the next generation. You're not living for, this is what's good for us now, but too bad for the next generation. Is that kind of?
I think that's a fair way to say it too. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
And what are some of the programs that come under sustainability?
Sure. So we've got a few different things happening here. So we've got the City of Kingston proper, the corporation itself, and then Sustainable Kingston operates as an arm's length organization. For that matter, there are also tons of other organizations in the community that would lead to a whole other conversation that are doing great work. So a couple of things to highlight, I think. So one of the important sort of context pieces is that the City of Kingston corporation is only responsible for less than 2% of our community greenhouse gas emissions. So it's not to say the city can't do better and shouldn't do better, but it is to say that 98% of our emissions as a community are coming from people in residential situations, we've got industry, we've got institutions, and we've got commercial spaces. So when we're talking about addressing greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, we really need to approach it as an entire community. So while council is responsible for the corporation of the City of Kingston, and we've got that well in hand, we as a community need to really activate around what else we can do. So one of the programs that I'm most excited about, and I understand you've been through this program, so I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about it as well. But while council can't make residents do things, right? We don't control the people here living in the city, we represent them. But what we can do is we can incentivize, behaviors and changes that are for the common good. So one of the programs that is offered through the City of Kingston and in conjunction with Sustainable Kingston is Better Homes Kingston. And this program is exceptional. It has had a huge uptake, but it's interesting because there are still a lot of people in our community who've never heard of it.
Well, this is why I wanted to talk to you, because when I tell people about this, they say, oh, I've never heard of that. And I think, oh my gosh, this is like a best kept secret. I don't know how I knew about it. I'll put, the bottom line is, you can get 10% of the value of your home, so let's face it, for most of us that's over $20,000, as an interest-free loan, repayable over 20 years. I figured it out, and it adds $66 a year to my tax bill. That's it. And in return, so what I had to do was, in my case, I had to I just bought not a new house, new to me, but a new house. It had an oil furnace with an oil tank. Yeah, and
big emitter right there.
Oh, right there, absolutely. Yeah. So I replaced that with a heat pump and a new gas furnace that are interconnected. I topped up my attic to R50, and I got the walls of my basement insulated. And for that, I not only get, well, it was I don't mind saying $21,000 as an interest-free loan, but I got a bonus of $5,000 because I beat the emission thing by more than 30%. Yep. And then there's another $5,600 from the federal government. Like, come on, you can't do better than that.
It's an incredible deal. And I
Wow.
think really the really interesting thing about, Better Homes Kingston is that as a person living in a single detached home, and that's what this program is currently targeting, is we're looking at fuel switching, right? The idea is reducing emissions, but it also can really improve comfort in people's homes too. And as a person who, might be interested in something like this, it can be really overwhelming to know where to go and which, businesses would be appropriate to do business with for this and what rebates you might be eligible for. So Better Homes Kingston really takes all the guesswork out of that and guides you through this entire process. So for anyone who wants to participate in this, there is one first step, and that is to get on the wait list.
I was on the wait list for months, yes, but it was still okay. That's the one thing I will say about the program is be patient.
Yes.
That this will not happen quickly. You will not get that money in your pocket. And the one downside is you have to finance it up front because you have to show paid invoices for everything you did. So that was, substantial output, but that's what line of credit and things like that are for too. It was okay, but and now the other thing, I got the benefit of all this extra insulation and a better heating system, and it feels pretty darn good to say, you know what, I've done everything I think I can do here to this new house that I'm moving into is as tight and as energy efficient as I can make it. It's kind of a good feeling.
There is some moral satisfaction that comes with it as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I found that you have to, and I kind of rolled my eyes when I first heard this, but it was so good. And you meet with an energy coach.
Yes.
And you have this session, and I'm thinking, oh, you've got to be kidding. It was so interesting. He told me that I was losing 43% of my heat losses through my basement walls. I had no idea.
And once you know, you can change it, right? And that is another really, excellent feature of Better Homes Kingston is that the energy coaches who work through Sustainable Kingston, they're there to coach you through the whole way. So after you get your energy audit done, they'll sit down with you and actually figure out for your unique situation, because every home is different and every homeowner is different, what would be the best plan of attack to get your emissions down so that you can qualify for all these other rebates and incentives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like in my case, my windows and doors were fine. I didn't have to get into that, but you can get into that. And well, let's see, there was the insulation I mentioned. What is some electric vehicles is another that's part of it, I think?
I'm not sure. It could be a charging infrastructure, but that's a detailed question that if people do have questions about that though, email betterhomes at cityofkingston.ca and they can answer your specific questions for sure.
But it could be heat sealing or draft sealing. It could be, solar systems, is that part of it? Yeah, you can get a solar system. It was fantastic. I cannot say enough. And as we're walking you through it, they give you a list of people who have, they're not saying we recommend these people. They're saying they've taken the training for Better Homes Kingston.
Correct. So you can use any contractor you want. Sustainable Kingston and the energy coaches will, however, give you a list of people who've done the training and know how the program works. And so you're welcome to use them or someone else. It's entirely up to the customer.
And then you start get quotes like you would for any major project in your home. And it did take time. It took a lot of time, and there is paperwork involved, but it was so worth it because I had no idea. I thought R20 in my attic was perfectly fine. R50? Wow.
Well, and when you think about the single home that you have now retrofitted and how many homes are out there like that. And so you were mentioning that you were on oil at that time.
Yeah.
And so one of the big pieces for this program makes a lot of sense, and the customers we're really trying to get to use Better Homes Kingston are the ones who have, a heating unit, whether it's oil or, radiator, or maybe it's a natural gas unit. But when it gets to end of life, if your heating unit is approaching end of life, get on the wait list. That's the best thing you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a simple phone call. They'll register, at least with me, they registered me right over the phone, and then I just waited.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And then, it was last January, and here we are at the end of January, so it's more than a year from the time I first talked to them until I will actually see that check come into my bank account, but so worth it. I
Yeah.
cannot say enough about this program. So just Google
Yes.
Better Homes Kingston. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
It's all there. It lays it out, and can't say enough about it. Yeah.
That's great. And can I add one more thing?
Please.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of people, as you've probably noticed, this January doesn't feel like January we expect.
No.
Things are warming. I think that's
Right.
pretty obvious here. So one of the things we're also seeing, of course, is extreme heat in the summertime. There are a lot of people who don't have mechanisms for cooling, whether that be air conditioning, shade, place below ground. There are lots of ways to
Right.
cool your home, but a cold climate heat pump, if a person were to switch over to one of those, perhaps through Better Homes Kingston, that has the bonus of cooling your home in the summer. So maybe you're someone without air conditioning now, this could be a way to also get that cooling effect. And I know I'm miserable in the summer when it's
so
too
hot and
hot.
sticky, and we
Yeah.
know it's going to get hotter. I mean, that's just, we know that. And that attic, that's topped up insulation will keep the house cooler as well. So it just,
win-win.
you're right. And this has been, thank you for coming in and talking about this, because I've been talking to everybody, but this way I get to talk to a lot more people about it. And yeah, so do call Better Homes Kingston. Please do it. It's you'll be doing yourself a really huge favor. Thank you so much for talking about it.
My pleasure.